Okay. Hi everyone. I am Burcu Aydınalp Egel. Today I'm going to talk about light and shadow. Actually, you already know what light and shadow is, but you haven't met with them yet. What I mean by is I would like to introduce you this light and shadow so that you can be good friends with them, to be able to have to be a good designer. Because light and shadow has a direct effect on your design. And how a viewer perceives your design is totally up to light and shadow. Unfortunately, the moment that you think about light is the time of its absence, okay? Like when the light is gone, you say, where did the light go? What happened? Actually, it was there all the time, right? It blends in your life, actually. You see it as a total. But when we ask you as a designer to check and analyze it, then you see the light and shadow combination around you. So yes, it is so nice that it blends in our life, but as a designer, you have to have an ability to see the integrance of these whole. So what I advise in the first place is to create a visual memory, actually, a light and shadow album that you need to create. This is what I did when I was a student. You know, I had a book, so I was taking every pictures. If I was taking a photo, I was tabbing them and then sticking them inside of this book. And you have a logbook right now, which you can do easily. Just go out and blend into life and check how the lighting works in the, on this rainy day, or how the lighting works with the sunshine. Or how the sunshine will gonna have this tree, this shadow effect on a tree. It seems like it's easy actually, but it is not. When you're in a darkness or when you're in a room, it's hard to think about the shadow of something, because this is our visual memory. We think that we have, but it's actually a contract with us. To see what it is, actually, to show to your client, maybe, if you have any picture of an area that you would like to create. Just check the famous designers, check the famous painters, how they use the light. Like check Monet, for example, how he uses the light on his paintings. Because this is how we perceive the moment and the life together. So light and shadow album is very essential for a lighting designer, actually. So of course we have a very important source, which is sunlight. It goes up every day and goes down. Have all these colors, right, and have all these effects around you. Just go out, from your balcony and see a facade, right? How it changes with the sunlight, what kind of shadows you have. Is there any change with the shape of these, building while the sun is changing its position? So analyze all of this. This is all around you, okay? But to be able to understand the light and shadow, we need to check the controllable qualities of light. You need to control the qualities of light so that you'll be able to understand, the light and shadow around you, and how you create your design and how people will gonna perceive it. So basically, we have 5 controllable qualities of light: intensity, color, distribution, reflection and refraction, and movement. Today, I'm not going to talk about so much about movement. Okay, it's about moving a light, but I'm going to talk about it inside of the distribution. But just to let you know that there is the 5th element in here. Okay? Is there an uncontrollable quality of light? Do you think so? Is there any? Yes, there is, which is speed of light. Okay, we cannot control the speed of light. That's the thing that we're in control of. Okay, actually, this was my master's degree oral exam question. They say that what would you like to do if you can be able to do something different with the light? And I said, I would like to control the speed of light, which is impossible. I was young right then. But, you know, you were thinking, maybe you can do it in the labs at the moment. But I was thinking to stop it in some moment and bring another light and then blend it back or something like that. It's a design. But this is the thing, the only thing that we cannot control about light. The others are in our hand. And if we're going to know this well, we're going to be able to control the light and shadow on our designs. So intensity is the first one that I would like to talk about. It's yoğunluk in Turkish, right? It's how much of a light on the surface that we have. If we are going to have more light on a place than another one, that we are claiming a point. Okay, let's check the picture in the middle, right? You can see that we have more light than the other surfaces, other places, right, on the surface. So it's more flattened because I'm losing the shadow. I have more light. Where I have the less light, I'm going to have more shadows, which I can see the structure in a better way. In the first one, at the left-hand side, you see that we have lights more in other places, right? Like at the back. And when it comes forward, we have less light in the top, which helps us to perceive the perspective actually in that area. Because now I can see the different layers by the help of the intensity. At the right-hand side, we have the same thing actually. But as you can see, we are not just designing the light, but also we are designing the darkness. Darkness by means shadow. So this means that if I decide to not to have a light on one side and another light, I am claiming again a dramatic point where I'm creating this three-dimensionality by playing the intensity of light on that surface. There are three important points to play with the intensity of light. One of them is how much your light is, how it is powerful. It's power of light, let's say. For example, I have an artificial light. Of course, with the sunlight, it will gonna be different with cloud, how cloudy the day is. Or if it's an artificial lighting, we can play with the power of it. We can dim it, or we can turn it on, in 100%. Also, how far your object is to light source affects the intensity. If I am far away from the object with my light, this means that I'm going to have less intensity on a surface. And the third one is, of course, how many lights are we going to have on that surface? Okay, 3 lights or 4 lights. Of course, 5 lights will going to be create more intensity on this area than 1 or 2 lights. This is another example. At the left-hand side, you can see the more intensity I have, this is more flattened at the top, which almost blended with the background, right? Then I'm losing the surface. But in the other places, I'm having this less intensity, which I begin to create this three-dimensionality on this design. I can see, I can feel better by playing different intensities. At the right-hand side, you can see a light comes from this dome. And I'm claiming a focal point, more intensity on that side. And probably if I'm going to go into this pool, I'm going to swim over there and check the intensity, right? Because it says that come over here, this is the focal point with more intensity. Another important controllable qualities of light is the distribution, how we distribute the light in our design. The best example is actually the moon. If you have a different distribution of light on an object, you are going to change its shape, okay? As you can see how it happens with the moon. If we're going to have different lights come from a window, right, which creates the shadows and the light together, distribution is different, we're going to have some patterns on the floor. We can actually have, we can change the shape of the light, even with these stars and stuff, which I don't like so much, but we try to blend it. We don't want to, you know, write our names on the floor, like, you know, playing with the distribution. But if we're going to have more intensity on one place and distribute it in a focal way, that we're going to claim again with the distribution some points in our design. So, of course, if you're going to check the sunlight, you're going to see how the light distribute in our environment. Most of you would think that you know how the sun moves, but actually, most of you don't. So please check how in North Pole and South Pole sun moves around and how it will going to create shadows on the buildings, for example. Is there a place that there's no shadow goes in the you know, time being? Because maybe, not maybe, if you're going to realize, if you don't know, the sun will not gonna travel to north in the North Pole and vice versa in the South Pole. So this means how we're going to design, we'll do our design according to sunlight depends on what pole we are in and what time and what is the, of course, the seasoning, how it will going to change with the seasoning, actually, all these shadows and all these effects. You can analyze the buildings, you know, at what time you're having a shadow or shade, you know, on the surface or on the road and other, on the top of the other surfaces on the other buildings. These are good analysis for you to understand how light works. So in that moment, I would like to talk about shadow, structural shadow a little bit. I'm not going to go so much into detail at the right-hand side, but at the left-hand side, you can see we have a form shadow and cast shadow, which if you're going to have light on an object, you're going to have a shadow on the floor or on a surface, not on the floor exactly. If you're going to have another surface, it will going to have its shadow. Maybe it will going to break the shadow on the wall. And of course, form shadow, which at the back of this form, you're not going to have a light because I have a light at the top and the light cannot reach to the back. So we're going to have a form shadow. This time, generally, there is so much questions about the shadow and shade. That's why I wanted to clarify it. A shadow is actually, it's better to understand is to count it. Okay, we can count the shadow. We can have 3 shadows of a tree or a building. If I'm gonna have a different light sources, artificial light sources, I can count my shadows. But shade is somewhere that I can go into. Everywhere can be shade. I can go into shadow and I can be under the shade. Like there's so much sun, I want the shade. So I find a place where the light doesn't come in or less light comes in. So this means that I cannot count the shade, but I can count the shadow. These are some other examples. In the middle, at the bottom of this chess pieces, you can see actually how we are creating light inside of a shadow by just distributing the light in a different way. Or at the right-hand side, you're going to see with the sunlight, this one will going to change its form because it will going to create different shadows all around during the daytime. If we're going to take the light source far away or the object in a different places, we're going to change the shadow and it will going to have a big impact in our design. These are other examples. How the light distributes around us. Look at this example, for example, how with the shadow, we are completing the design, right? At the right-hand side, you can totally feel with the sunlight changes how our perception will going to change with the shadow. It will going to change from left-hand side to right-hand side. And it helps with the perspective for you to complete your whole design. This is a good example, actually. It comes to the building. I don't know the details, but since it's in Israel, I can understand that the right-hand side it comes from it's about noontime. You see how it creates a shadow on this wall. right? All these structure. So at the left-hand side, you can see this checkerboard effect, which probably it's going down. The sun is going down, and it will gonna be. I couldn't find a better picture, but probably it will gonna have totally different effect for that, which we can see partially of it. So this means that I can play with the sunlight through my structural design. Not structural design, the design of these patterns on the structure. This is actually an artificial lighting, which this is a different distribution of light, where we can have different composition with it. This is a combination of a sunlight and artificial light. At the left-hand side, we have the sunlight coming through, and then we turned on another light, which is an artificial light, and blend them all together to create this design. The other one that you love so much is the controllable quality of light, is the color. You love color, right? To put gels and all of these colors all around, everybody loves. Right? Especially LED lighting, we have all the colors right now, and people love to put their kitchen, right? Everywhere is blue, purple right now, all the colors, these poor trees are all these Halloween greens and stuff. Since we are able to change the color, the game is different a little bit with light. So you can filter the light, okay, through these filters, the gels that I put over here that you can find actually, not all of them, but some of them in the stores too. We change the color of light by putting some filters in front of it in general. I'm not going to talk about this, okay? This is, everything is physics in light, actually. All the stuff that I'm talking about. The only thing that you can, I'm going to put this on the Moodle, you can check, all these details. But for now, what I want you to know, that color mixing is different than the ink or pigment in lighting. So when you're experimenting, which we're going to have it as a workshop in at the end, you're going to have an experimental work to do. If you're going to mix up the colors, if you're going to have different colors than the pigments, do not be surprised. That's why I put it over here, because it has a different structure. It has different rules than mixing up the color pigments. Of course, it depends on the color of your object too. As you can see, this lemon and tomato, how it will gonna change the colors, the surface, and also color of light. So this is one of the examples. This is the Miami airport. Yes, I mean, personally, as a lighting designer, I don't like that much of a color. But if you're gonna use that much of a color, that should have a color scheme or at least a rule of colors, okay? And you please observe how with the sunlight, it will gonna change the length and the color together. Of course, sunlight will gonna have different colors during the daytime according to its position. And of course, if you're gonna have the clouds, it will gonna have a different color on and all around you. This is an example that I want to show you, which is a wrong example, okay? I just want to say, whoever is doing that, keep calm, okay? Whoever doing the control of this, I mean, you can see it from the plane, you can see it everywhere, you know? Somebody is losing themselves while doing this design, losing the control. Okay, I mean, imagine living in these apartments that every time your living room color is changing to red to blue. Whoever wants to play with the lights, okay, just do not do it. Yes, we have all the colors around. Let's have all the colors. We know if you push a button, you'll change the color. It's easy. The easy thing to do is open up all these colors, but don't do it. Okay, do it as with, playing with the value of this color. You can use the same color, but with different values, right? And you can create this total different effect with the same color. Not all these, mixing up all of these colors and stuff. And the last thing that I'm going to talk about, the controllable qualities of light, is the reflection and refraction. Again, this is the physics, right? If you're going to have a flat surface, you're going to have a direct light coming through you. If you don't have this flat surface, it will going to go all around. Or if you are controlling it, it will going to go to different directions, okay? So you can either, choose to reflect the light, or you can use different materials to refract it, which, like in prisms, the light can pass through from a medium, and it will gonna go in different directions, and you can create different designs with it. As you can see in here with this design, how the light works. Some of them passes through, which refracts. Some of them reflects. So it will gonna have different colors with its reflection and refraction. Another example, this membrane, as you can see, works differently at night and in the morning because of the different reflection qualities. With artificial lighting and daylighting, it will gonna have different reflections with the position of lights, for example. At the right-hand side, at the top, you can see the floor, how there is a pattern, right? How the light passes through, refracts, and have different effects. In the bottom, you can see all around how it reflects on the floor. And of course, if you're going to have a flat surface or this reflective surface like water, you're going to complete your design or have a different effect on your design. So actually, this is basically it. At the end of my presentation, I want you to know that these are all combinations, okay? When you are controlling the light, you are using all of these elements together, not one by one. Let's use the color, let's use the distribution, let's use intensity. They're all together, blend to each other, create all of this, and then you can you realize that you create the right design with your light and shadow.